Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the pretty shadowy world of cybercrime to answer a really critical question. How on earth do security experts actually hunt down ransomware gangs? You know, when a ransomware attack hits, it feels like you're being attacked by a ghost. You get a ransom note, all your files are locked, but the attacker? Completely faceless, totally anonymous. So the question is, how do you even begin to fight an enemy you can't see? Well, the answer is something called cyber threat intelligence, or CTI for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as detective work for the digital age. It's all about gathering and analyzing all the little clues about these digital ghosts. You know, their tools, their methods, their habits, to build a profile so defenders can actually fight back. So, where does an investigation like this even start? Well, it begins with the case files. The first, and maybe the most foundational source of intelligence, comes from those really detailed threat research reports that cybersecurity firms publish. Now, to make this all feel a bit more real, we're going to follow the breadcrumb trail of one specific group, the Egregore ransomware gang. By seeing how investigators tracked them, we can get a really clear picture of how this whole intelligence gathering thing works in the real world. All right, let's start with a report from the security firm Group IB. This slide lays out some really fascinating details. It shows that Egregore's way-in was a Trojan called Quackbot, which is a nasty bit of malware that usually sneaks in through phishing emails. Once they were inside, they used this super powerful hacking tool called Cobalt Strike to pretty much take over the whole network. And to steal data, they used a common tool called rclone. But, and this is clever, they disguised it as a legit Windows process to stay hidden. Every single one of these clues gives defenders a specific move they can make, right? Like blocking rclone or hunting for that disguise process. That's a solid start for sure, but here's the thing. A single report is never the full story, not even close. Each security firm sees a slightly different angle of the attack. So to get the complete picture, you have to look at multiple sources. So let's bring in a second report, this one from CyberReason. It adds some brand new, crucial details. Turns out, Egregore didn't just use KBot. They also used other Trojans like ursnif and icedID to get in. It also shows us they used a very specific tool, SharpHound, to map out the victim's entire network. I mean, they were basically drawing themselves a blueprint of their target. And that tells defenders exactly where to beef up their security. The Active Directory, which is kind of like the brain of a corporate network. Okay, on to a third report, this time from InfoSec, and you can see how the picture is getting clear. This one uncovers yet another way they broke in, by exploiting VPNs that hadn't been patched. It also shows they used totally legitimate remote access software like AnyDesk to keep their foothold. They stole passwords with the infamous tool Mimikatz. And then, get this, they used another tool called sDelete to securely wipe their digital fingerprints. Every single detail here is a major warning flare for IT teams everywhere. Patch your stuff, watch your remote access tools, and lock down those credentials. So here's the really crucial part. What happens when we put all of this intelligence together? This slide just lays it out perfectly. All of a sudden, a really clear playbook emerges. We can see they have multiple ways to get in, a bunch of different tools for looking around, and several methods for stealing data. We've gone from a few scattered clues to a really comprehensive profile of our digital ghost. Now defenders can start to anticipate their next move. But there's a catch with these formal reports. Yeah, they're super deep and well-vetted, but they take time to write and publish. And if you're in the middle of a live attack, you need information right now. For that, investigators have to turn to a much faster, way more dynamic source. And that second source is the global cybersecurity community. This is where you have thousands of incident responders and researchers, people on the front lines, sharing what they're seeing in real time, often while an attack is still going on. And believe it or not, a really popular place for this is Twitter. I mean, check this out. This is a perfect example from Peter McKenzie, who's a director of incident response. He's literally sharing the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures for the Ragnarok Locker ransomware gang, live from an active investigation. This isn't some report from last month. This is intel from right this second. It's absolutely crucial for fighting off threats as they pop up. And just look at the incredible amount of actionable intelligence that's packed into this one thread. It's amazing. He points to a potential entry point through a Microsoft Exchange vulnerability, the exact scanner they used, how they moved around the network, and even the commercial backup software they hijacked to steal data. It's basically a full attack chain in just a few hundred characters. So we've got the formal reports and we've got the community intel. But what if you could get information directly from the source? Well, the third and honestly most fascinating source of intelligence is the threat actors themselves. Investigators spend time monitoring the underground forums where these criminals hang out, and the stuff they find is just astonishing. This slide is a literal recruitment ad posted by the notorious REVWell ransomware group. They're hiring. And just like any other company, they posted a job description. And this job description is a CTI goldmine. I mean, REVWell is spelling out exactly the skills they're looking for: experience with tools like Metasploit and Cobalt Strike, the ability to attack Active Directory, knowledge of virtual systems. They are literally telling defenders what their people are trained to do and which technologies need the most protection. It's wild. And it doesn't stop there. Here, you've got a representative from the Lockbit ransomware group just casually discussing data theft techniques in a public forum. He's mentioning that his partners commonly use the tool rclone to upload stolen data to cloud services like Mega. They're just openly sharing their tradecraft for anyone who's looking. So the whole point is that by weaving these three totally distinct threads together, the formal reports, the community chatter, and the adversary's own words, investigators can build a really, really powerful intelligence playbook. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the complete process. It's a three-step playbook. Step 1, analyze the formal reports to build your foundation. Step 2, monitor the community for all those real-time updates and breaking news. And Step 3, observe the adversary directly to understand what they can do and what they're planning, straight from the source. And this brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. Ransomware gangs, they operate in the shadows, but they also communicate and boast and recruit right out in the open. So when criminals publicly advertise their entire playbook, you really have to ask yourself, who actually has the advantage?